Hello, everyone, and this is my review for WWE Monday Night Raw on January 25th, 2016. And, this being the first Raw right after the Royal Rumble pay-per-view, they're starting their road to WrestleMania, so they're starting to try to build everything up and going into not only Fastlane, but into WrestleMania itself. So we're typically leading into a pretty good section of Monday Night Raws, at least leading into WrestleMania. At least that's what we're hoping for. And this Raw had its ups and had its downs. And I'll get to those downs, and because I feel like they, in the terms of writing storyline, just made a poor decision of how they decided to handle the number one contendership in the terms of how the authorities should have been handling it and everything like that. I'll get into that in a little bit. But first of all, I'm going to start off with the match with Chris Jericho and AJ Styles. I thought this was a fun match. It was a really good match. In the end, it did start off a little bit slow and a little bit tentative. It looked like that those two might not have had any kind of chemistry with each other. But the backstage promo between the two of them, in the terms of how Jericho interrupted AJ Styles and then going into the match itself, I felt was a really good one. I like how they're teasing the Styles Clash, but they're not having him use it fully yet. I'm actually enjoying that, and I am enjoying the different style of wrestling that he will bring in there, because he's been over in New Japan. He's actually changed up his style so much, being over in New Japan Pro Wrestling versus when he was in TNA, and I'm actually thoroughly enjoying seeing it. He's working with the right guys now, guys who can handle that style, and while he's learning a little bit more of the WWE product. So I'm liking what I'm seeing so far, and I can see some of that stiff style actually working in a lot of those other matches, because we've seen a lot of guys with strikes. He has those series of strikes in there and everything, and the way he works, I think, will work with the main roster, and will work with how they go with everything. Now it's just going to be how are they going to handle AJ Styles in the terms of promos and storylines. For the time being, it looks like they've used this match as a way to introduce AJ Styles to the Raw crowd. They introduced him to the WWE crowd last night with the Royal Rumble, but not everybody probably watched the Royal Rumble. Now this is where, basically everybody who is watching gets to see him. And I think this is a good way of going, and a good way of getting him out there for the crowd to see. I thoroughly enjoyed this match. Like I said, it started off a little bit slow and seemed like they might not have had the proper chemistry, but it definitely gelled in there towards the end of the match, and I thought they did a really good job of introducing AJ Styles. I like how they didn't say, when he was going for the Styles Clash, but didn't hit it. I was like, he's going for the Faith Breaker, like when Michelle McCool was going had the move, but they called it the Styles Clash. I was glad for that, and I'm glad to see where they're going with it. Now let's see what kind of storylines they're going to come up with for him. I'm thinking more Kevin Owens at this point, but we'll see how everything goes. But they also use this match as maybe a starting towards some kind of heel turn for Jericho. Like, maybe he goes through a series of losses and everything like that and shows a little bit of respect, and then eventually bam and gets somebody. I'm thinking, a lot of people are thinking Dean Ambrose. I'm thinking that as well. So we'll see how everything goes on that side. But good way of starting off AJ Styles with Monday Night Raw. I thoroughly enjoyed that. The Becky Lynch and Sasha Banks match I thought was pretty good. I'm okay with the aspect of them ending it with disqualification with Charlotte out there. Just on an aspect that even teases the potential for a triple threat between them. But I'm thinking they're doing the triple threat first, and then they'll go into a more Sasha Banks Charlotte kind of storyline. We'll see how they go about that, but I'm thinking they're working some kind of triple threat angle at this point, and we'll see how they go with all that. But I mean, the match between Sasha and Becky was a lot better than the one they had a while back on Raw. Obviously, we know what they've done in NXT with each other, but they seem to gel it a little bit better this time for the Raw product, and it came off relatively good, and I'm okay with the DQ finish on that side of everything. The Social Outcast. And like I said last week, relegated to jobber status right off the bat. Though I do love the whole bow train thing. The bow train bit was kind of hilarious. But it seems like they're using these guys as a good way, maybe, of getting celebrities in there, because obviously they had Flo Rida there and everything, and they set up like a rap battle, which, oddly enough, like, and now granted, Flo Rida had to work getting the Dudleys out there into it, so his rap actually didn't come off all that good at that time. Bose was okay. At least it rhymed. He did decent with that, but it seemed very forced with what Flo Rida was going. But he had to get the Dudleys out there and everything. The match with the Dudleys and the Social Outcasts, I thought, was pretty good as well. It wasn't bad, but again, you're relegating these guys to jobber status, but at least they're getting TV time. At least they're getting TV time at this point. But we'll see where they go with everything with the Social Outcasts. I wish they wouldn't use them as just jobber tools, but, you know, with the name like Social Outcasts, you kind of figured that's where they were going with it. And then there was also there was just another random match in there with Paige and Natalya going up against Brie and Alicia Fox, pretty much just using the Total Divas storylines that were going on to set up this match. So again, we're finally getting consistency from week to week between the Brie Bella and Alicia Fox. They're heels this week, like they were last week, and same with Paige as well. She was a face last week, she's a face this week, so at least consistency in the terms of, are they face or are they heels? Which one are they? But at least we're getting a little bit of consistency with that. The match between them, not bad, but relatively no purpose or anything besides what they were doing with the Total Divas storyline, which obviously, you know, a lot of people do watch that show over on E, but not everyone. So not everybody's going to get that storyline. They don't set that one up on Raw or anything like that. So not too many people are going to get that one. So they had been, and this was going to bring me to the aspect of they've been teasing somebody like a major return to Raw for a major star going into the road to WrestleMania. Most people kind of knew where they were going with this. I liked how they set it up. The backstage segment with it was pretty good as well. And that was the whole aspect. They had the limo sitting out there the entire time, or like for a good hour or so. And then it's like when they try to find out who it was, it ends up being The Miz, and he starts talking up everything about being on Raw and being an A-lister and everything like that. I like this gimmick from him. It's good. It's just so many people end up doing it a little bit better, like Sandow, and like Sandow did with Damien Mizdow. But so Miz gets interrupted by of course, a truck coming up and speeding in, and The Rock coming out. Big mark out moment, being in Miami and everything like that. And the segment that they did was just hilarious. And this is like Rock at his best in the terms of being a face and still being a total, like, just being a complete ass to everybody in general, just because he was going after the heel, so he's considered a face in this case. Basically, he's like talking to The Miz, like saying hi. He's like, park my car. Everything in that says hello to another backstage celebrity back there. Meets up with a Big Show, and they start talking about the 2000 Royal Rumble. And the moments with Big Show just like getting sad over everything he was talking about. Like I said, Brock considered a face in this case, but still being a complete ass to everybody in the end. You know, where Big Show just takes the laptop and just slowly breaks it. Is like Rock's like legitimately scared and then comes up with a random joke for it. Oh man, some of this stuff was really good and really, really funny. The Lana Rusev stuff was great in there with that backstage segment. If there's anything about this segment that I would have to say, even though very, very entertaining, and basically it just announcing that Rock's going to be back for WrestleMania in some way, shape, or form, it took so long to get to everything. I like the But once he got out to the ring, the moment that was probably the best outside of the interruption with the New Day was his little portion of segment with the 4 guys that were dressed up as WWE legends. One as The Rock, one as Macho Man, one as Hogan, one as Undertaker. And his interaction with those guys was amazing. I liked it. It was great. And, you know, it was just one of those things that it felt off the cusp enough, though you had seen those guys kind of floating in other spots. Like, they had come in dressed up, and I bet the guys saw it. I bet a bunch of those, like a bunch of the producers saw it. It's like, hey, we can work this in. Let's get all 4 of those guys together in there. And in and out was just working really well. More than likely playing somewhere, but they made it feel like off the script and everything like that. So it came off kind of genuine, so they did a good job there. The stuff with New Day. First of all, New Day themselves. Amazing. Amazing stuff with The Rock and everything. And Rock's stuff towards the New Day was really good as well. Just good one-liners, everything like that. I love how Xavier Wood, because Rock forgot Byron Saxton's name, he comes out there and says, by the way, that's Byron Saxton. He's the best announcer there. It's like, well, that's not that hard. And they do bring it back with saying, oh, it's like, that's kind of, you know, that's still not all that impressive because, you know, Xavier was still better. Moment. So they did some really good stuff in there. The ending of it with, it was a good way of bringing in the Usos as well. Usos got a massive pop. So the rub with The Rock being out there and the Usos music hitting, massive pop from them. I liked it. The segment overall might have been a little too long, but it was entertaining. It was an entertaining segment. And it definitely, at that point, probably saved Raw a little bit. It wasn't horrible by any stretch of the imagination at that point, but this one definitely brought that entertainment level a little bit higher at that time. Kane and Bray Wyatt. Pretty much no real purpose to the match outside of them continuing a little bit of what happened back with Survivor Series. With Bray Wyatt now going over, they got to build him up as a legitimate threat now because it looks like, you know, him and Brock Lesnar for WrestleMania in some way, shape, or form. You're going to have those guys going at it. So they've got to build Bray up again as a legitimate threat, and he's always going to have that following in the terms of how people have the lights up for his entrance. But now it's time to kind of build him as a legitimate threat going into WrestleMania so he can have a match with Brock and actually people, you know, care in some way. So we'll see how they build up that storyline. But I see them building Bray up very strong here very soon. And we'll see how everything goes. Now, here's where I consider the down point of the night. Not the aspect of Triple H being champion, but the way they ended up handling it in the end. The promo at the beginning of the show was actually a pretty good promo. I'm not going to lie there. That was a pretty good promo from them and from Triple H and everything like that. It was more towards how they said, it's like, and we'll be evaluating talent the entire night, and we're going to name a match at name a main event match at Fastlane. The winner goes on to face Triple H at WrestleMania. And this eventually, and, you know, it led up into, you know, the match that you had with Dolph Ziggler and Kevin Owens. Really good match and everything like that. You also had a continuation with The Miz saying how much he hated being interrupted. Gets interrupted by Kalisto. Their match was pretty good as well. And I'm going to give credit to 2 people here through this night, because you do not see this often. And they did it the night before, and they did it again here tonight. Dean Ambrose and Kevin Owens. They sold that last man standing match so well because Kevin Owens was still coming out limping and, you know, bandaged up. And same with Dean Ambrose as well for his tag match at the end of the night with Rusev and Sheamus when he was teaming up with Roman. You know, I'll give credit where credit's due. Both those guys sold that match so well, and they sold it again here tonight. And that is a sign of a good talent right there, that they'll sell it. And they'll sell it for multiple nights. I'm glad for it. And we'll see where everything goes in that aspect, if they're going to continue working with them. But obviously, it doesn't seem like it. I think Owens and Styles and Dean Ambrose and Jericho will end up working together going into WrestleMania. The match with Rusev and Sheamus versus Reigns and Dean Ambrose, not a bad match. Pretty good match. And I do like the ending where they put Rusev through the table, just like Rusev had put Roman Reigns through the table from the night before. This is where, and I'm getting back on track with this a little bit with what happened at the beginning of the show and them evaluating talent. This is where I had the problem. Triple H is champion. And they come out and Stephanie comes out to name the main event match for Fastlane. She names it as a triple threat. And all three of the guys they name in the triple threat, the Authority actually doesn't really want being in the title picture, actually, in any way. But yet they are going to be in the main event for a title shot at WrestleMania, potentially, which with Roman Reigns, Dean Ambrose, and Brock Lesnar. Okay, first of all, that's going to be a good match. That's going to be a good match to watch. But in the terms of storyline, makes no sense for the Authority at all to make. It's like all three of these guys they don't want as number one contender, and yet one of them is going to be number one contender. Storyline-wise, this makes no sense. Match, this is going to be fun. All three of those guys are going to be fun. But I would expect them to more solidify Bray and Brock's storyline in there. And like I do expect it to be Roman Reigns going up against Triple H at WrestleMania. Like I said, they could have made it feel like they could have put a little bit better tension in there. They could probably work something against Dean and Roman, and maybe have a little bit of a split between their friendship a little bit in this one. I don't know where they're gonna go with that, but like I said, it felt like they did not. It feels like the aspect of all three of those guys being in a main event match to potentially go to WrestleMania doesn't make sense in the terms of how the Authority feels. You thought they would maybe put somebody that they would rather like in there up against those guys, up against somebody like that, or a triple threat where you have Roman Reigns go up against two of the guys they really want. So they could have put like Kevin Owens or Sheamus in there, something that kind of buddies the Authority in there, but it doesn't do that at all in there. So it made no sense for it, but they made a great match in the end. It's going to be fun. I'm pumped to see this match, but storyline wise, it makes no sense for the Authority, and that's just how I feel in that aspect. So, Raw overall, decently entertaining. Some down points, at least storyline wise, like I was mentioning in there, but some very entertaining stuff in there. I love the Rock segment with New Day and everything in that sense. It just came off hilarious in there. And, in the end, we'll see where they go. Okay start to the road to WrestleMania. Not a great one, but an okay one. Some really entertaining stuff. We'll see how everything goes. And that is my review for Monday Night Raw. And I thank you guys for watching.